So for each and every application, whatever you have created, let's say if you take any platform like with Java or .NET or whatever it is, security is most important, right? So what do you mean by security here? Let's say you have created some records and those should be visible to you, and whoever is responsible for those records, they should only be able to see the records. Let me give an example. In our case, we have university and then students, right? So the student record, so let's say SK University students should be displayed to the SK University staff only, whether may be EC or HOD or whoever it is. Okay, so that is the security concern about it. Okay, how we are, let's say we have created a lot of things like custom objects, fields, tabs, page layouts, record types. So these are all the components, right? We are working with them and we are creating the records using of them, right? Then how can we maintain the security? Let's say if I don't want to provide access for specific record type, specific group of users, then how can we do it? Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So uh, when we are discussing about the security in Salesforce, we have different concepts like profile, permission set, okay, then we have sharing rules, role hierarchy, and then OWD, all of them are there, okay. Profile and permission set, these two are used to control the metadata, okay. Okay, so let's take one by one. So while creating a user, profile is very much important. Okay, I told you, right, profile is important and profile is mandatory. Role is not mandatory, but profile is mandatory. So for creating a profile, then here you should select the license as well. Should we have seen that? Okay, then what is a profile? Okay, without a profile you cannot create a user. Okay, so one profile can be assigned to any number of users based on the available licenses. Okay, and one user can have only one profile at a time. Okay, careful on that. Then what is a profile? Okay, a profile is a group of settings and permissions which controls the accessibility of logged in user. Okay, this is just metadata level permission. Profile and permission set, these two are used for controlling the accessibility at metadata level. Metadata level means directly at the object level or a tab level or profile, field level, whatever it is. It's called object level permissions, or let's say what we can say metadata level permissions. Metadata level permissions means if you have access for that specific object or tab or whatever it is. Metadata means if you create an object, that object is called metadata. If you create a tab, the tab is called as metadata. Okay, then if you give access to that specific profile at metadata level, then it will be available for the users. So that metadata level permissions can be controlled by using profile and permissions. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the profiles. Okay, write down the definition of the profile, or let's start about the profile, then we can see what we can do in that. Okay, so let's create a profile. How can we create a profile? Okay, just type here profiles. Here profiles are, okay, just click on profile. New profile. Then here you have to select the existing profile, maybe system admin or whatever it is. Okay, in profile there are two kinds of profiles. I mean, there are two types of profiles. So as we have the two different types of objects, standard objects and custom objects, the same way we have two types of profiles. One is standard profile and second one is custom profile. The standard profiles are the profiles whatever we are displaying here, all are these things. First one is system administrators and standard user, standard platform user, solution manager. So you have to remember at least 5 to 6 standard profiles. Okay. So if you select the system administrator permission, license type or profile, then automatically license will be taken here. Salesforce license. Let's say let's save it. So this is the profile. Okay, let me go to classic. Better try to practice in lightning console. I mean lightning experience. Okay, I'll explain this classic because the page will be good to see. Okay, this is the profile we have created. Okay, now yesterday we have created another user, right? Let's log in with this user. Meanwhile, see what is a profile? A profile is having different types of access, like so the properties are name will be there and user license is mandate. Okay, then description, if you want to give any description, you can give it. Then what are the different types of uh, settings we have here? Page layout settings are there. Means for which profile, let's say you have created 10 page layouts, you can create any number of page layouts per object, right? So if you have created 10 page layouts and you have only one record type, then you can assign only one record type for one page layout only, right? But for each and every profile you can have different page layouts, two different record types as well. Okay, so this is page layout settings. Okay, so we have created the record types on, what is it, university, right? So here the page layout settings are managed by the record type, varies by record type. So when you want to assign, see this, edit, here let's say you have 5 or 6 page layouts, any number of page layouts if you have, and let's say for this profile, this is called profile, right? So here these are all called as profile. So for this profile, if you want to change the layout, then what, how you can do is, let's say for system administrator, you just select this. Okay, then for this open university record type, if you want to display the university layout, you can change it. After changing this, you just need to save it. Okay, using the profile you can manage the page layout settings. Okay, for each and every object, whether it may be standard object or custom object, whatever it is. Okay, so first one is page layout settings for standard objects and custom objects as well. Then second one, field level security. Okay, so to understand that, let me go here. Let's go here, change the page layout setting. my profile, I just need to display university layout. Okay, so we know that university layout will be different. Let's see. Open university, the layout is like this, and departments are showing arts and science. Okay, so now let's assign this page layout, I mean this profile, to the new user here. So you can go to the users, you have created this test user. Okay, now assign this profile to that specific user. What is that specific profile? That's called my profile 1. Okay, you can assign one profile to multiple users based on the available licenses. If you have Salesforce licenses 10 or 20, then you can assign to 10 or 20 members to this profile. Okay, now save this. Just simply refresh it. Okay, this is right. Let's go ahead. Go to universities, new record, select the open university. Now what is the layout is displaying? See, this different layout is displaying here because we have changed the page layout for this specific profile, and it won't affect to other profiles. It just affect to the same profile whatever it is when it changes. Okay, so using profile you can assign the page layouts, means you can control the page layouts. That is metadata level settings. Okay, then here you have field level securities. Okay, what is field level security? In the objects, whatever the objects you have created or the standard object, there might be fields, right? So there are two types of fields. We know that one is standard fields and second one is custom fields. Okay, what is field level security? Means if I don't want the specific user to see that field or something, then what I can do is I can maintain the security. So that means I can remove the access or add the access. I can make the field read only, something like that. So that's called the field level security. Let's say for the university, the field level security is like this. Edit. Now here we have two types of field level security. I mean two types of access for each and every field. That's called read access and edit access. Okay. So for my field, whatever it is, let's say status. For the status checkbox, if I remove the access, edit access as well as read access. Okay, I have removed the access for this one. Then status will not be available for this user. Whatever the record type you have created, let's say regular university, status will not be available because we have removed the access at field level security. So at profile level we can maintain the field level security for each and every field on the each and every object. Then we can make it read only or edit access or read only access. Okay, so you can make the field level security like that.
So why do we need this field level security when we have the page layout? Where we can
Yes, I'll explain that. Okay, you can make a field required or read only using the page layout as well as a profile. Then what is the difference? You are asking the question, right? Good question. Now I have 10 page layouts. At 10 page layouts I have status field. Okay, if I make a status field required at page layout level for page layout 1, then it won't affect for remaining 9 page layouts, right? So let's say I have status field on open university layout and regular university layout. On open university layout I made it required, but it is not required for the at regular university layout, right? That is specified to only layout, that specified layout only. It's not required for each and every other layout, right? If I made it edit or read only access at profile level, then whatever the layout it is, or wherever you are inserting the record from Apex or different API, whatever it is, that is read only access only. That is universal level. You can say that it's universal. It is limit to only that page layout. I think you got the answer, right? Okay, that's how you have to maintain the field level security. And what else we have? This is the page layout, and then application permissions. Okay, so if you see here, you can have different applications like sales, marketing, and then services. All this will be there. These are all apps we have already discussed. Now if I want to maintain these application permissions, here you can maintain the app permissions. If you edit the profile, see this, you can remove the accessibility. So before removing the profile permissions for the applications, if you click on app launcher, it opens these many applications, right? Now what I have done is, so I just give the permission for Salesforce, I mean the sales application only, sales, lightning as well, okay? And other applications I have not given the access. Save this. Now just refresh this. Says only sales application. No other application is displayed here. Okay, so that's how you can maintain the application permissions as well. Okay, page layout settings, field level security, and application permissions we have set. Let's see what else we can do. Okay, then we have tab permissions. Okay, so you have different types of tabs, right? Like you have created the object tabs, and you can create the web tabs, and you can create the lightning tabs, whatever it is. Okay, if you want to maintain the tab permissions, so here there will be three kind of permissions for each and every tab. One is default on, default off, and hidden. Okay, let's see here. Default on, default off, tab hidden. Okay, these three are the tab settings. So default off means it is completely off, it cannot be enabled, and it cannot be accessed through the API also. So if you give tab hidden, that won't be displayed at the tab level, and if you click on the all tabs, or you can access from the API as well, that is just hidden. Okay, it won't be displayed to the user in the UI, but it can be accessed through the API. Okay, then default answers, it will be always on. Okay, now to test that, let's see, I'm going to make one of the tab like payments default off. Save it. So as of now here, payments are, that is, it is displaying here, right? Now let's just refresh this. So it is not saved yet. Payments default off, save. is actually controlled by the parent, as it is master, it is child in the master detail relationship. Let's see the another object. There is another impact also from the profile. There is another setting called modify all data permission. So if you have that modify all data permission, even the tab is also hidden also, it will be available. Okay, there are different kind of things. What tab that is? Let's go log out. Tab level permissions I'll explain later. Then tab level permissions, after that record type settings are there. So for this profile, let's say for this university object, you have two record types, but the users who are accessing through this profile should be able to access only one record type. Then I can maintain through this one. Say go to record type permissions. Here universities, you can edit it. Then if you don't want to create this profile users to access the open university record type, you can remove that and you can add this. Okay, now whenever this user is trying to create a university, it won't ask for the selection because it has only one record type access. It directly takes the regular university. Okay, that's how you can maintain the record type permissions. Okay, next we have administrative permissions. These are very complicated and the things are using this administrative permissions only, others permissions are affected. So just now we have removed the tab permissions also, but still the tab is available because of these administrative permissions. Let me change this one by one. This view all data. View all data means if you have this permission, so before that let me change here. So for each and every record, for each and every object, we can do DML operations like reading and creating the new record, updating the record, deleting the record. Okay, so here read a record, create a record, edit a record, delete a record. For this specific profile users, if I don't want to give delete permission on college object, what I can do is I can remove this one. Then modify all permission will be removed. Then what is modify all? Modify all means, see here, allow you to read, edit and delete. Not create, read, edit, delete. If you enable this modify all, this will be enabled. So let me remove this one. So if I give modify all permission, see this, apart from create, everything will be enabled. Okay, and if you give view all permission, only read permission will be enabled. See this. Okay, view all. Then what is the difference between view all and modify all? Here read permission. Okay, I'll show the difference, don't worry on this. For now, let me remove delete permission from this object. Okay, means the users who are assigned to this profile should not be able to delete the records from this object. That is the permission intention. So I have removed the delete permission. Let me save it. Go to college object. Okay. Hope we have removed permission. So just now we removed view all, right? That's why it is just removed from tab settings. That's how it maintains. Have modify all permission, then tab will be always available. Okay. Now just remove and then see. Colleges. Okay. Go for all records. If you see here, there is no delete option. Okay, because we have removed the permission at profile level. Here, if you remove, let's say, here you have the permission, so you can create a new record as well, right? And then let me remove the new permission. To create permission, remove this. And as well, so here edit permission is there. You can edit the record. If you remove the permission from for editing also, it will be removed. Okay, let me save this. Means you have access for only view. You don't have access for edit or something. So now just only view permission. Okay. If you try to edit, it will give the error. Okay, so it should not display this permission. How come it is? Okay, here edit permission also done. Okay, so if you change anything at profile level, it affects the user. Let's say if this profile is assigned to 100 users, then 100 users permissions will be affected if you change anything in the profile level. Okay, now another thing is, okay, we have lot of other permissions. I'll explain one by one. Okay, if you want to create the objects or something, then there should be some permission like customize application. This is customize application. Okay, if you have customized application, then only you can manage the permissions like profile framework. There are a lot of others also. So let's go one by one. Access libraries. This was CRM content. Okay, if you have CRM content and community content. So libraries means folders. Okay, I'll explain it later. Don't worry on this. That's not that much important. Then assign permission sets. Author Apex. If you have this permission only, then only you can create Apex classes and then coding you can write on it. Otherwise, you cannot. So bulk hard delete. So in data loader or import widgets, there will be some options to delete the records. Hard delete means if you want to delete permanently from the database, then you can enable this permission. So then the users who are having access to this profile, means who are assigned to this profile, they can do the hard delete. Hard delete is directly deleting from database instead of storing into the recycle bin. Those will be deleted from the database and system itself. Okay, then so you have created this list use, right? If you have this permission, then only you can create the list use, otherwise you cannot. So for example, remove this permission, save it. here actually new permission will be there for creating list views. As we have removed the permission, it's gone. Okay, so and others, and what do you know? These are a lot of other permissions. I'll explain one by one later once we are done with the administration. So import letterhead. Even for creating the letterhead also. So email templates. See this? The tab. See if you click on this, email templates. Email templates folder will be there. Okay, so if you remove the permission, then this is the tab permissions, it will be removed. This is the tab permissions. But here for managing the email templates, you should have this permission. If you want to create email template, then you should have this permission. So if you don't have this permission, then you cannot create the email templates. Then so if you want to have list views, that's fine. Then you have others, letterheads also. Have this letterhead permissions, manage letterheads, then only you can create the letterheads. Otherwise, you cannot create. Okay. So for these things, you just what you need to do is you have to disable, enable, and try to use that. Okay. And see this. If you want to edit HTML templates, you have HTMLs, right? Email templates. Then you should have this permission. So dashboard permissions, report permissions, and then if you want to report folders also, you should have these permissions. Otherwise, you cannot. Okay. So these are some settings. I'll help you to understand this later. And in profile, these are the things we can maintain. Now, along with these settings, so just now we have seen that first page layout settings, application settings, record type settings, field level security, then administrative permissions, general user permissions, then object level permissions. These are what we have seen now. Okay, apart from that, you have these when the password should expire, 90 days or 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, 1 year, or never expires. Okay, so that the password policies, these are called password policies, session settings. Okay, in profile you can have password policies, session settings along with others, and then these are for editing, and other permissions you have or see here, password policies, then login hours, login IP ranges, Apex class permissions, Visual Force page permissions, external data permissions, named credentials, custom metadata type permissions. Okay, I will tell you what is custom metadata type. Then flows, present status, custom permissions. These are all very much important. Okay, so now you understand that, right? What is a profile? A profile is a group of permissions and settings which controls the accessibility of users. Okay, so if you make any change for any profile, then that affects the entire users who are assigned to that profile. Okay, that maintains different types of permissions and settings. Settings means page layout settings, record type settings, tab settings, all of these called as settings. Then permissions means general user permissions, administrative permissions, object level permissions, all of these are there. And others, along with them, you can maintain the login IP ranges, login hours, then Apex class permissions, Visual Force permissions, custom permissions, then default communities, external database access, and then metadata type permissions. Lot of others also we can maintain. Okay, this completely at metadata level permission means directly we are giving the lock what you should have access. Okay, so this is metadata level access. Okay, one profile can be assigned to any number of users based on the license. Okay, now, okay, this is about profile, and then we have permission set. Okay, a permission set is also a group of permissions and settings which is used to extend the functionality of a profile. Okay, so let's say if you have a profile assigned to a user, and then if you want to have extra permissions for that specific user only, let's say one profile is assigned to 100 users, and then you have some limited permissions in that profile. Now I have to extend the one or two settings for 10 users. Among those 100, I just need to give the extra permissions for 10 users. Then you can create a profile permission set and assign to that users. Okay, let's see how can we create that. Now edit. Okay, so let's say uh, regarding this object, let's remove the permission. Okay, here I just need to display, just tell you one thing. So when we were discussing about the master detailed relationship, we were saying that controlled by parent, right? Means if you have access for parent in the master detail, then only you can have access to child. Otherwise you cannot. Okay, so we know that there is a relationship between university and student. University is the master and student is the child. Okay, if you want to have access for child, then automatically it will be enabled for the master. Means without master access you cannot have child access. Okay, so only this edit read permission only dependent, only read is required, others are not required, only read permission. Okay, this is dependent means if you have the access for parent, then only you can have for child. But if you don't want to have access for child, you can have individually to the parent, there is no restriction. But if you want to have the access for child, then you should have for the parent. That's called controlled by parent. Without having access to child, you cannot have access for parent. Okay, but individually you can have, means if you want to have access for only parent, you can have it. That's called controlled by parent in the master detail relationship. Okay, so let me save this. Now I don't have access for any objects, right? Only university and student, that too only read permission, right? So you don't have access for the tab. Okay, now how can we do with that? Permissions we can give to the user with the permission set. Okay, here type permission set. Create one permission set. I'm giving my permission set 1. License, if you want, you can give Salesforce license. Now here you can go for the permissions. As we need to give the object your permissions, go to the object settings. Here go to that specific object, whatever the object you want to give the permission. Let's say universities. Edit. So tab should be visible. Okay, and here what is the permission? Then create, edit, delete, create, edit, delete, then save it. Once this permission set is created, you have to assign this, right? Otherwise how can it will be determined? So here manage assignment, add assignment, select the user whomever you want to select, whomever you want to assign, just click on assign. Now this permission set has been assigned to this user. Okay, so in that permission set we have access for university object. Now just refresh this. Now here go for universities, then here as you have university permission, so then automatically there will be student permission as well, because it is controlled by parent. Okay, now here university, if you want you can create the new university. Okay, so now if my profile 1 is assigned to 100 users, then 99 users of that profile cannot be able to create university record, and the user whomever we have assigned this permission set should be able to create the record, right? So now you got the point, right? How can we create the permission set and profile, and what is a profile and what is a permission set? These two are metadata level permissions. I'm saying it 100 times because you have to remember it. Okay, metadata level permissions means always it will be like enabling or disabling the permissions. Okay, now here there is another permission. Along with these permissions, you guys should know about one specific permission which is called modify all, view all permission. This is very much important. These two are very much important. There will be an interview question. What is the difference between view all and view all data? Modify all and modify all data. Okay, so view all data, modify all and modify all data. Okay, so let's say I have 1000 users or 2000 users, and I have 10 profiles, and for each and every profile I have 100 users or something like that. Okay, now here if I have view all permission, then irrespective of other permissions or sharing settings or control settings, whatever it is, the user will always be able to see all the records in the student object. View all means he will be always be able to see all the records in that specific object. What is modify all? Modify all means the records which are there in that for that specific object can be viewed and modified. Okay, view all only related to this object only. Means if you enable view all at student, then the records in the student object can be viewed by this all profile users. Modify all means the profile users who are assigned to this profile can be able to see and modify all the records in the student object only, not for other payment or university others. Is for only that specific object. Okay, view all means can be viewed all the records irrespective of other settings. You don't need to worry about other settings. Then we modify all means they can edit any record in that object. Okay, then you have another setting called modify all data. View all data. Okay, if you enable view all data, then automatically view all on specific object. View all data means the entire data in the Salesforce organization, whatever object it is. It doesn't mean there is no problem. All the data in each and every object will be viewable. So if you see this, view all is enabled for all objects. Okay, and there is another thing. Let me remove any one view all permission. Okay, then automatically view all data permission will be disabled. Okay, then we have another permission called modify all data. If you enable modify all data, then it will be enable modify all and view all on each and every object. Okay, so if you have these permissions, modify all or modify all data, view all or view all data, then the records in that object will be always viewable by these profile users. Okay, if you give modify all data, then they can see any data in the Salesforce organization. If you have view all data, they can see it and they can't modify. If you have modify all data, then they can modify also.
But they can't create.
They can create also. Modify means create also. Okay, so if you observe that, if you remove this permission,
They create a new record.
I'll show you. I have removed the create permission, right? Now enable this modify all data. Automatically enable for creating, editing, deleting each and everything. So that is the difference between modify all data, view all and view all data. View all data means entire Salesforce organization data can be viewed. Modify all data means it can be viewed, means entire Salesforce organization data can be viewed and modified. Means modify all data. So view all is specific to the object. Modify all is also specific to the object. View all data and modify all data is specific to the organization. Okay, so these are very much important points. Okay, so using the permission set also you can have those permissions. Modify all, view all. Okay, at the object level permissions. So there will be an interview question that, so what are the permissions we can give through the profile and what are the permissions we cannot give through the permission set. You have to distinguish that. Okay, Google it and find out the answer for that. Okay, so here object level permissions are there, application permissions are there, Apex class permissions, visual force, external data systems, flow access, credentials, custom permissions, metadata types, and custom setting definitions. Okay, so these are the things we have. Okay, so when we go for object permissions, there you can have the, let's say, if I go for some university, there you can have record type permissions and then tab settings as well as permissions on the profile. FLS you can maintain and then object permissions also you can maintain through the permission set. Okay, some of the general user permissions and administrative permissions cannot be given through the permission set, so you have to name them down. Okay, so now are you guys clear with profile and permissions?